Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, so let's just dive in and let's start off with a few things. So, first and foremost, I've been keeping a close eye out on the regional banks and major banks for quite some time on this channel, as you guys are probably all aware of. And it seems as though a lot of people kind of just forgot about these. I'm still watching these very, very closely. I mean, year to date, they are still down a drastic percent. On the 1 day span, we are still seeing some red. I mean, we're also seeing some nice green. But still, if we look at the past 3 months, if we look at the past 6 months, and even the past 1 year, year to date, it's pretty significant. Like all of these are in major red still. So as we do look at the regional banks and as we even do look at the major banks, there's still a lot of problems here around the banking sector. And although a lot of people are kind of forgetting about it, or maybe they're just brushing it off, they don't really care. It's no longer in the news, so no one's really kind of hyped up about it. I want you all to understand that the banking system is still very well constricted. Liquidity is still at, a very rough area. And, if we actually look at what's happening within the US economy, we know things are only going to continue to get worse, especially around the real estate sector. I've been watching the real estate sector for a little bit of time. But, all eyes on the Fed, right? Everyone's still waiting on what the Fed's going to do next, because if we do continue to have those, rate hikes, it does constrict the banks even more. It does cause a lot of pressure on the banks. At this point in time, I think that the banks are dealing with quite a bit of pressure already, and it's questionable on what's going to happen next with a lot of these banks. But we are starting to see a lot of problems arise within the banking sector anyways. And, I congratulate anyone that still has money in the bank, because it takes a lot of courage to continue to hold money in the bank. I've been saying, like, I'm debanking myself. I don't want to have any money tied to banks at this point in time, because we've heard this story many times in the past. I mean, 2008 was a perfect example of why you shouldn't want to, hold all of your money in a bank, and why you need to, park it elsewhere. I've been accumulating, physical gold, physical silver. I've been also accumulating utility gems within crypto. I've been diversifying outside of crypto and even metals. I've been looking into, real estate, especially if there's a good deal that comes up, I'm going to buy it. But I'm still a little bit patient on real estate, because right now real estate has been questionable, right? It doesn't seem like it's the right time to buy. Banks are still trying to lend as much money as they possibly can, because at the end of the day, they are also dealing with a lot of issues, and they want to get your money. They want to have your money because liquidity is at, crucial levels. So, right now I just don't feel comfortable diving deep into real estate. But I'm still holding on to what I do have, and diversification outside of, crypto, outside of gold and silver is perfect. You want to make sure that you are diversified throughout the entire, way, because, when things really start to go bust around the banking sector, things really look dim. So make sure that you are paying attention to what's happening around the banks, because right now, as we do see a few things happening, all eyes are on ICE-9, which we've talked about in the past, which I will address in this video as well. We do see over here, though, JP Morgan is abruptly freezing customers' bank accounts and discriminating against clients without warning. Law enforcement officials in 19 states. This just happened on May 19th. And if we actually do see down here, so there's a few quotes. One, it is clear that JP Morgan Chase & Co. has persistently discriminated against certain customers due to their religious or political affiliation. This discrimination is unacceptable. Chase must stop such behavior and align its business practices with the anti-discrimination policies that Chase proclaims. What's wild about this is that this is what we have been warning about. Remember, even with CBDCs, we've talked about it, like political beliefs or religious beliefs or anything, they could ultimately shut your money down. It's programmable money. So when you look at CBDCs, they could technically shut them down. Now, yes, am I backing certain technologies that are, helping CBDCs become a reality? 100%. And a lot of people think I'm crazy for saying that, but when you actually look at it, these are companies that are working with central banks. We know that the central banks at the end of the day always win. It does not matter what you or me want. Central bankers always win. So why not get wealthy off of it and make sure that you diversify? Diversify, diversify, diversify. And there is also an idea of over diversification. So make sure that you are not over diversifying. But physical gold and silver, I think, will be around forever, as long as you could hold on to it. Remember, confiscation is a thing. They can confiscate your physical gold and silver. They want to make sure that you are, hiding it away in a secure location. And also the same with crypto, like cold storage crypto. But we do see down here, to be clear, banks generally have the right to conduct their business however and with whomever they choose. But a bank does not have the right to mislead its customers. Chase cannot call itself inclusive, publicize that it opposes discrimination in any form, promise to prevent discrimination against customers, and then refuse to commit to the most basic equality of treatment and fair dealing. And yeah, this is wild to me. But also, we just seen on May 6th, the US government may freeze American bank withdrawals as currency panic and capital flight mounts. Macro guru Hugh Hendry. And this was also very interesting. And we do see sometimes it's kind of relevant to panic. I would recommend you panic. You've seen the biggest waterfall decline in M2 right now. M2 is deposits, not loans. That's the deposits fleeing the system and going into money market funds. What did I tell you guys? Money market funds are sitting at about roughly, I think it's like almost $6 trillion now. People are fleeing the banking system, and for good measure. That could reach a crescendo where the Treasury and the Fed may have to come in and actually restrict your right as a US citizen to pull money out of the US banking sector. Hendry says capital flight from US banks is not solely about fears or whether the FDIC will insure deposits above $250,000 and a blanket guarantee to deposits would not solve the problem. There's a capital flight, deposit flight from the banking sector seeking yield. I fear that I don't say this lightly, but in 1934, the Federal Reserve Act confiscated gold from US citizens. We're at the point where the Fed and Treasury officials, I'm sure, are having to consider a lock on US bank deposits. And this is a big deal. And we do see when it comes to where Americans can place their capital amid the uncertainty, Hendry says his go-to is US Treasuries and potentially even Bitcoin, which, again, you guys know me. I think outside of Bitcoin, I look into XRP, I look into utility gems. It's time to own the most reviled security in the universe, the ultra long treasuries. I know you all think we've got an inflation problem. It was a supply shock, and a supply shock needs the manifestation of more and more bank printing of loans to propel it into the future. We're getting the opposite. The ultra longs are trading 2 to 3 standard deviations below the ETF. I've not got the bug, but Bitcoin is something I could conceive as an asset class that could trade 3 or 4 times higher in the next 5 years. There is no other asset class that I could make that determination. And I do think that as we do really kind of look at a few things around this space, crypto has become a safe haven for a lot of capital, and I do think that's going to continue to do so. But also, we just seen over here, just in New York City, freezes deposits at Capital One Bank. Check this out. So again, this is right on par with JP Morgan, by the way. But we do see down here that banks seeking to do business with New York City must demonstrate that they will be responsible managers of public funds and responsible actors in our communities, said Comptroller Brad Lander. Unfortunately, despite several opportunities to do so, 5 banks failed to comply with the New York City Banking Commission's destination process, leaving us to conclude that they are not taking meaningful actions to combat discrimination in their operations and are not responsible stewards of public dollars. I'm grateful to the Mayor, Finance Commissioner Nyblack, Treasurer Jackman, Banking Commission member Generet, I hope that I'm saying these names right, and our partners at the Department of Finance for working with us to strengthen oversight over the banks that profit from public funds. And I thought that this was also interesting. I mean, as we do really kind of look at what's happening here, like Capital One held $7.2 million in city deposits at the end of April across 108 accounts. Key Bank held $10 million in city deposits at the end of April across 3 accounts. Both refused to submit the required policies, hence why New York City voted to freeze deposits for Capital One and Key Bank. Both banks will still be able to service existing contracts, but only for 1 year. And this is very interesting on what's happening right now around the banking sector. Like, I really think that as we look at what's happening around banks, it really kind of leads me down the rabbit hole around ICE-9. Going all the way back to March of 2020, that's what really kind of started this trend around ICE-9, and a lot of people talking about it because of the pandemic and what was happening around the economy then. And today, more than ever, I think that the economy is actually at a worse. I think now is probably worse than even 2008. So, comparing this to 2020 and the pandemic, like we're at a very rough time around the economy. But we do see how the global financial system could shut down, according to Jim Rickards. And we do see down here, we are potentially entering an ICE-9 situation where the entire world may freeze over economically, said Jim Rickards, best-selling author of The Road to Ruin and Aftermath, 7 Secrets of Wealth Preservation in the Coming Chaos. Now, I will say this, a lot of what we do see, like with a lot of this type of stuff, it's always to sell something, right? As we do look at Jim Rickards, listen, incredible individual. I've listened to a lot of his, a lot of his conversations around the economy and where we are basically heading. But as we do know, like a lot of this is to sell certain things. Let's sell this book, sell that book, or, let's just create a buzz. Let's get, views, clicks, whatever. But as we do look at what's happening, I will say I do believe that we are nearing some sort of major event like ICE-9. It's also why I say like the bank accounts are not a safe haven for your capital. Do not leave your money in a bank. I'm telling you right now, like, a lot of people want to flash that they have like this much money in the bank, or hey, like look at how much money I have in paper cash. I want everyone to know like the dollar will be around. Don't get me wrong. But what we will see is essentially physical money be a thing of the past. And we see this happening with CBDCs. And I think that what we will see going forward is a massive problem. They got to create this huge problem to usher in, what they want, which is CBDCs. And the best way to do this is by creating a liquidity crisis or creating a financial meltdown. And again, this is why I look at like ICE-9. We do see a liquid that has a freezing point of room temperature leaks into the streams and rivers and turns all water into ice, effectively covering the planet in an ice age and wipes out all life. This is basically the book, a vial of ICE-9. We do see something similar may be underway financially, where markets halt trading activity, he said. If you shut down the New York Stock Exchange and I can't sell stocks and get cash, I'm going to sell my money market funds or redeem my money market funds. Then you've got to shut down the money market funds industry, and then people say, oh, okay, I'll go to the banks or the ATMs, he said. And then you've got to shut down the banks. So the point is it spreads from exchange to money markets to brokerage accounts to banks, and you end up shutting down the entire system. At the end of the ICE-9 scenario, the entire global financial system shuts down and any Federal Reserve intervention may no longer be effective. I actually think that this is much larger than the Federal Reserve. I think that a lot of these government entities and the central bankers, I think that a lot of them have this already pre-planned. But we do see people say that gold does well in inflation, and you don't want to have gold in deflation. And we may be looking at deflation that may be coming. But the point I make is the greatest period of sustained deflation in U.S. history was 1927 to 1933. And in that period, gold went up 75%. Gains in gold in today's condition would be even higher, Rickard said, since gold was fixed in 1933, which is no longer the case today. And additionally, Rickard said investors should store their gold a bicycle ride away so that in the worst case scenario, it would become accessible should people need to evacuate cities by bicycle, which would be more effective during a gridlock than cars. And basically it just means like, listen, you want to store your gold in a safe haven where you know where it's at, and it can't be confiscated. And you could also easily take it and flee because, things could very well start to unfold rapidly. But we also do see over here, this was going all the way back to November of last year. This was Clive Thompson. He's a retired wealth manager in Switzerland. He's talking about ICE-9, the banking system freeze. This is saying confirmed. It's not. I mean, this was November, right? So we know that this was not confirmed, but listen closely to what is being said here and kind of look at what's happening right now around our financial system.
I think it's at some point, the world is likely that the CBDC will arrive, and it will also be the subject of the currency reset at the same time.
Sorry, one second.
Going to a crisis.
I just grabbed the video from over on YouTube because it seems as though Twitter was kind of broken, but nonetheless, here you guys have it.
I think it's quite likely that the CBDC will arrive, and it will also be the subject of the currency reset at the same time. At some point, the world is going to go into a crisis, or a country is going to go into a crisis. It might be the UK, it might be Italy, it might even be the United States, but something is going to happen. Things are very, very taut in the financial world at the moment. When that happens, I think they will close the banks. You'll wake up on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning and hear the news that they've shut the banks, not going to open on Monday. And then by Monday evening or Tuesday, you'll get the announcement that we're having a new currency, the CBDC, and don't worry, it'll be 1-to-1 against the old currency. But there'll be some restrictions on your ability to convert your old money into the new money. So if you're poor and you have a small bank account, it'll be converted 1-to-1 straight away. And you'll probably even find that you get a free gift from the government to kickstart the system. Maybe £3,000 or £5,000 will be given to every citizen gratuitously to kickstart the system in the new CBDC. But if you have 100,000 or 1 million in the bank, you're going to be told, yes, it's 1-to-1, but you're going to have to wait to convert it to the new currency. Now, wait means never. We all know that, but they won't tell you that. They'll say it's a temporary suspension because we're in the middle of a crisis. The people are rioting in the streets, and we need to calm the system. So here's some free money, everybody. Go and enjoy yourselves. And by the way, the rich can't convert their money for a while, but they'll be able to do so later. So if you happen to own Apple bonds, they'll be denominated in the old dollars. You won't be able to, it'll still be old dollars. You won't be able to convert those old dollars until you've got the cash. But when you get the cash, you'll need permission to do it. And you're not going to get that permission. It'll be exactly like we had in Britain back before 1975, when we had the exchange controls. You needed permission from the Bank of England. I mean, I remember when I traveled abroad the first time, I was allowed to take £50 with me abroad. Didn't go very far.
No, and yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So,
and this has happened historically in the past, but now today more than ever, like this is becoming a serious problem, and I think that everyone should prepare for the worst case scenario, because if we don't get the worst case scenario, then hey, does it really hurt to prepare for something like this where you don't have a lot of money in the bank account, or maybe you just keep as much money in the bank to cover bills or cover certain things? But you could always think about it like this, right? You could always deposit money into the bank. The bank is never going to turn you down from depositing money into the bank. They love your money. They want your money. They will turn you down, though, to withdraw money. And a lot of people have commented on my video saying, I could go and withdraw money tomorrow. I want you to go to the bank and try to withdraw $10,000, $20,000, all the way up to $50,000. I mean, like, they will question you left, right. I mean, they will ask you every single question in the book. They will go through a whole procedure, and then they might even make you wait 24 to 48 hours before you can even get your money, because they don't have it. Now, also, we do see over here, ICE-9 is incoming. This got posted on May 20th. We do see over here, Biden admin to ban bank withdrawals amid decline in M2 money supply. Hugh Hendry warns. Again, this was on May 18th. We do see Biden admin to ban bank withdrawals amid decline in M2 money supply. What's interesting about this is that this is kind of right on par with Icebreaker, right? Going over to the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, we do see Project Icebreaker concludes experiment for a new architecture for cross-border retail CBDCs. This was done on March 6th of this year. Now, this shows how it is possible to use domestic retail CBDCs for cross-border payments. And we do see that this was with the BIS and also the central banks of Israel, Norway, and Sweden. They've concluded Project Icebreaker, which studied the potential benefits and challenges of using retail central bank digital currencies in international payments. And this did kind of break down a few things. We do see, as detailed in the report, Project Icebreaker sets out to explore a specific way to interlink domestic systems, a so-called hub and spoke solution. A cross-border transaction is broken down into two domestic payments facilitated by a foreign exchange provider active in both domestic systems. Therefore, retail CBDCs never need to leave their own systems. And this kind of broke things down. First off, they're looking into a few things, mainly around the problems that are arising right now around the traditional system, meaning insufficient liquidity. It's freeing up capital. The fees are lower. Things are a lot smoother. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Transactions are settled within seconds. It's going to be so they're going to cater it to the retail sector. They're going to make it sound so good, so incredible, and they're really going to market it like that. And what they need to do is they need to market it to the retail sector to sell it to the retail sector. That's the thing. And what's wild is that this is right on par with what we have been warning about around CBDCs. And like, listen, CBDCs are not a, oh, well, you know, if, no, it's a when. It's a when situation. But they did break this fully down. You know, we do see like these are the benefits of it. You know, settlement risk and speed is alleviated. And we actually have a lot of, you know, great speed now around it. Competition and transparency, interoperability and scalability. Like all of these are the key things that we've been talking about with crypto for so long. The only thing about crypto, though, this is why they will never utilize crypto specifically. And when I say crypto specifically, I mean like they want a CBDC that is complemented by crypto, meaning XRP, for an example, could bridge CBDCs. They will 100% utilize that because guess what? They still get their holy grail, their CBDC, their central bank digital currency that they program and control fully. Because you can't have a financial system built with crypto without the central bankers getting their control. That's what all of this is about, right? But what's really wild about all of this is that like a lot of people think that like, oh, CBDCs are not going to happen. They're not going to happen. They are happening. Like as we do look at CBDCs, like I said, it's not a, you know, if, it's when. Like when are these going to launch? Because like in 2023, we already see so many large CBDCs. Like even Saudi Arabia is working on a CBDC. Turkey's working on a CBDC. And they almost end like all of these areas. The UAE. I mean, they are moving fast. The UK, Canada, I mean, the major ones. Australia is even working. I mean, like, we know that this is becoming a reality. And it's only a matter of time until these start to go really live. And once we start to see these popping up everywhere, going live, that's it. That's end game. And I do think that we will see traditional systems be frozen. I think that we will see a global financial freeze to usher in this new one. And I think that that's, you know, what's like all of these CBDC experiments are leading us down the rabbit hole with this. Like we are seeing this becoming a reality, and whether or not people are prepared for it or not, like that's going to make or break society. Being prepared for something like this, I think that you 100% should be prepared, whether or not it does happen. But CBDCs, to me, 100% are happening. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I look at these and I already see what the central bankers are saying. I see what SWIFT is doing. Like all of the global payment rails are preparing for CBDCs. They've been preparing for CBDCs. The central bankers are so, you know, adamant about CBDCs. Like these are becoming a reality. Government entities, Federal Reserve, all of them are on board. We know that the FedNow service is catering to the CBDC system. So, you know, as we do look at this, this is a reality. And I think everyone should prepare for it. I think that we will see a financial freeze. It's going to be global. It's not going to just be, you know, national. It's going to be a global financial freeze ushering in this new system. And I do think that everyone should be holding crypto. I think everyone should be holding physical gold and silver. And I think that we should all be preparing for the inevitable. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or beautiful night. Wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.